I'm Melisa Nielsen.
I'm Erik Nielsen.
And today we're going to talk about balance in relationships. Balance in your relationship with your children. Like what should come first. And sort of how we've seen that crash and burn. And how, we can better combat anything like that happens. Well, first, relay so we were at Disneyland for my birthday last week. Last week, as soon as we were done with our video, we headed north, and it's something we do often. We have passes, so we get to go, and we had it was a great day. It was a great day. It was cold. And I know that's relative for those of you who live in polar vortex land, but
yeah,
it was cold to us. But
no, when I lived in Idaho and it was 40 degrees, we're like, woohoo!
I know,
got short sleeve shirts out and ran around outside, and now it's like, oh no, it's freezing.
I know our son that lives in Utah, he wears shorts often. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? But you overheard we were standing in line for something, and you overheard
I've always been kind of an eavesdropper, even when I was a little kid. That's probably not the most polite thing in the world to do.
He picks up on so many conversations. So many conversations. That's hilarious.
So yeah, we were in line for something, and I was listening to these women talk, and they're talking about somebody they know, and it's like, yeah, she was a helicopter mom 24/7, and now she's a single mom.
Right?
And I was like, whoa, and then I heard like, well, why did he leave her? And she was like, I don't know, must have annoyed the crap out of him or something. And I was like, wow, okay.
Well, I think that at the base of that, if you don't strengthen this in the midst of working, bringing up children, raising children, and you turn the relationship you should have here into one with your children, you're going to lose this. So you have to really cultivate this together, so that then you can really work on the family. And gosh, as much as I'd like to say, okay, that's all we need to say, we work with a lot of people that this is a struggle. This is a struggle because either mom or dad has a not healthy relationship. And here's the deal: you think it's a really healthy relationship when you're in it. You think that you are giving everything to your child, and that this is what they need, and this is how you grow strong, healthy adults. The way you grow strong, healthy adults is to have a good relationship with their other parent, period. And to be there present together. And one of the things, we sort of come from the attachment parenting world, and we were attached parents, so are attached parents. My oldest is 22. I've been at this a long time. We've done the whole gamut of co-sleeping, and I breastfed until they weaned, and we did all of those attached parenting things. But what I will tell you is that because I didn't cultivate this relationship, I have an ex-husband. and I know that even though there were many other things that contributed to that was a big piece, because it was very easy for me to go, okay, well, he's acting up and doing his own thing. I'm just going to cling to these children over here. And I'm just going to work on that. And I know that there are definitely some moms that are in the spot where they feel like that's all they can do. And I want you to sort of step back and go, okay, whoa, this relationship is so, so important. Fix this, and everything else gets fixed. And we're going to talk about that a lot in our masterclass, and sort of how to, like, the things that we really find are vitally important. But I think too, one of the things that we see a lot is dad not having a good work-life balance.
Yeah.
I think, often, especially if mom stays home, which I know isn't the case for everybody that we work with, but if mom stays home, that's her career, and dad goes off, that's his career. They tend to be very separate things, and they shouldn't be. I know when Erik worked at the paper, I was like all up in his business. Talk to me about your job. What went on today? What things did you report on? Tell me about it. Like, I wanted to know. And I think that I think that that's taking an interest in your partner is really important.
And I never said you'll have to read about it tomorrow morning.
No, never. You're never like, well, see my byline on page 3, or You know,
or what I'm doing is way more important than what you're doing.
Right, for sure. And that so much of that goes back to the money conversation that we had last week. So if you are struggling with money stuff, go back and watch that one from last week. It's up on YouTube. So, but no, I think that in this quest to raise really strong adults, because we're not raising children, we're raising adults. You always need to think about the end. Begin with the end in mind. Especially when it comes to parenting, I think. I always ask myself, how is this going to look in 5 years? How is this tantrum or this thing that I'm allowing right now or this thing that I'm choosing to ignore right now, how is it going to look in 10 years, in 5 years, next year? But, you know, you're always sort of working from this place of knowing or wanting to know what the end looks like. And hopefully in that, you're thinking about this relationship and how you want that to be when your kids are growing on. So I feel like that is vitally important. So if you're in a spot where that's a real struggle for you, or you're a single mom, because I was a single mom for a while. So while I was a single mom, I really worked to make sure that my relationship with my children was in a more appropriate place in that, and I will say my children are really close to me. all of my children, like super close. Like to the point where I'm like, Harry, you need a friend. Which I love him dearly. But you know, I think that I talk to my kids every day, not because they say you have to call me, but because they like my company. And that's a good place to be in. But they all know that dad comes first. If you don't make dad come first, dad will come last. And dad, if you don't make mom come first, she will come last. So your family should be before your job, and your family should be, or your partner should be before your job. Your partner should also be before your kids.
Well, because one thing that happens is if a parent's relationship with the child starts to eclipse the parent's relationship with the other parent, then it gives the kid a sense that they're in charge and they're wearing the pants in the family and they can call the shots. And I've seen that. And also, well, then it breeds resentment.
It does, of the other parent, for sure.
And also, one thing that happens too is if one parent sees the need to be parenting or putting their foot down about something, and then that can result in the other parent swooping in and saving that kid.
Right. No, I think that's really important. That's one of the things that that I try to teach our homeschooling moms is don't ever cut dad off at the knees, and vice versa. So if you are in a spot where you feel like you need to save a child, unless they are being abused, and I'm not talking about, let's define that. You know, a father or mother screaming at a child that they are a horrible human being, that's abuse.
Yes.
A father or a mother calling a child out, depending on the age of the child, that's not abuse. That's it might not be the best parenting, but it's not abuse. So we have to be very careful with sort of how we view things and how we term things. And we have to check ourselves. Ask yourself, do I think this is abusive because of what I have been through as a child? How, you know, really checking yourself to realize whether or not what is going on is actually abuse or if it's a very skewed perception. In any case, you want to be very careful about that because definitely abuse happens for sure. Definitely not discounting that. But at any rate, unless your child is in danger, do not cut dad off at the knees or mom off at the knees.
And that's a whole other topic is evaluating what things in your past you're bringing into it as far as your perceptions and things from your parents and maybe a spouse prior or those kinds of things.
Because those things, especially the things that happen in our childhood, things that are unresolved from our childhood, they leave a lasting imprint. And if we don't deal with them as an adult, then we're sort of damning ourselves to failure. You know, I really feel that strongly. If we don't check like how we show up, then we're not going to show up in a good way. It's just going to all fall out. And I don't know, we've seen that in so many relationships where people haven't taken care of either what's surrounding like a past injury or something that happened in their childhood, and I think it's pretty important to step back and ask. And I also think it's important to recognize that we work within the idea that we all have basic human needs, and one of those human needs is to feel significant. So if you treat your partner like they're insignificant, guess what? They will be.
And then it goes back around, and all of a sudden the kid ends up having more power than the parents.
Right. And the children treat that other parent insignificantly because they see how you're treating them. When I left my ex-husband, it was so much because of, I thought to myself, this is who is teaching my boys how to be men, and it's not okay. So you have to check yourself and ask yourself, am I a good role model? Am I what I want my kids to emulate as they grow? Because they will. They will. Even if they decide that they don't like what you're doing and they think you're a horrible human being, guess what? You still raised them. All of that you poured into them is still there, ever present in their adult life. So, really being able to check yourself and ask yourself, is this the best me that I could give my kids? And if it's not, recognizing that it's not is huge. And then doing something about it is even more huge.
It's funny, and I've joked about this before, is like one of the things that scarred me as a kid was this episode of The Twilight Zone. Where the kid had all these powers and everybody walked around afraid of this kid, and if you didn't do what he wanted, then you ended up being a scarecrow and sent out to the cornfield.
Yeah.
And so there's
That's a scary episode.
It is scary.
It was so twisted.
Well, it's scary, but I think that scared me ever since I saw it as a kid. But I thought, you're not going to turn into the kid sending people to the cornfield.
Right.
You're not going to have
That's
that
not
kind
okay.
of power over me.
That's not okay. I also think that sort of with that, I think what can happen, and we've been in in the spot of needing to be very aware of this. We have kids with special needs, and that can really become the focal point of everything. Mm-hmm. And when that happens, everything suffers. And so, yes, you have to put an appropriate amount of thought, care, consideration, work into that situation and that child, for sure, because that's your reality. If you don't, it will fall apart and your life will be living hell. But don't forget this relationship. Don't forget the relationship with the other people in the family, because I live at Kelly we have a video on Mondays, and the Monday video we talked about like glass children that are seen through, because and I think that would apply to partners that are seen through, because mom pours all of her energy into that. And I was thinking about that show. We watched a little bit of it, and then I was not impressed. That show, Atypical. Remember? And the mom was like all about the kid with autism, all about that. And then she had an affair. She had no connection with her husband, and she had an affair.
Well, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a special needs situation.
No, it
could be that there's some kind of trauma.
Right, for sure. Making sure that connection is strong.
I mean, and there's been times where we got so focused on one kid that something else happened
with another child. Oh, absolutely. So you don't want to miss the things that are happening around you. So make sure that you are doing regular check-ins. And how do you do that? I mean, you ask yourself every week, or also every day, how did I do today? How did today go? So much of I think what happens in our culture is nobody goes back to review what they did. Can you imagine how different life would be just in the United States alone if people went, how did I do today? and actually gave themselves a proper backward review. And because, the truth can only be seen from the end generally. And so being able to step back and ask yourself every day, how did I show up? Was it great? If it wasn't great, how can I make it tomorrow better? And asking yourself, go through each one of your children that you're parenting and ask yourself, did I connect? How did that go? I had struggles with this child. Think that through. And then you definitely need to make sure you're connecting with your partner. You definitely want to, and it doesn't always have to be intimacy, but it definitely has to be like a hand squeeze, a hug, I see you, I notice you, we're in the crap together, we're in the weeds, and it's going to get better, and I love you, and thank you for being with me. It can be that simple.
I mean, and this is something that's also popped in my head is I think one temptation to focus so much on, especially if it is a special needs situation, is I think a lot of parents martyr themselves.
Oh, they're trying to wrestle it to the ground. Why did this happen? How did this happen?
Or also because it's like somehow this is my fault.
Right.
If I hadn't done X, Y, Z when I was pregnant, or if we hadn't been under stress when she was pregnant, or if there was a birth trauma.
Absolutely. All of those things. And guess what? As Pumbaa would say, the past is behind you. You cannot do anything about the past. You cannot do anything about the past. You know, that was something, sorry, my eye itches. That was something that I came to face with fairly early in my parenting. So our oldest is vaccine damaged. And I know that's going to create a bunch of like hubbub. I don't want to hear it. So it is what it is. And we've been through all that, and not a whole lot of fun. And I could have very easily martyred myself. Mm. And that would have affected the rest of my children. I had to go, well, that's what happened. When I know better, I do better. When I know better, I make different choices. And I absolutely believe, from a spiritual perspective, he signed up for some sort of difficulty, and we signed up for it with him on the other side. And so this is how it plays out. And my job is to help him be the best human he can be now. And I have maybe feel like I have a bigger responsibility for that because of choices that I made not knowing. But it is what it is. And you can't carry that with you. That's a really heavy bag to carry. You got to put it down. You have to put it down, and you have to parent everybody else. And you have to be a good partner and a strong human. And because I also truly believe that we are not given anything in this life that we can't handle. It's just all in how we approach it. You know? Yeah. Do you think we covered this?
I think so.
Stop making your children into your partner on both sides. Dad, if you're working outside the home, make sure you pay attention to people at home. And those of you who are working in the home, make sure you pay attention to Dad. All around. Be connected. All right, you guys have a great weekend.